video out. It's Richard. How may I help you?
What's up, guy?
Hey!
I'm looking for an early 90s gangster movie by the name of New Jack City.
Break yourself! Break yourself, brother! Break yourself! Give me the videotape!
Okay, forget about New Jack City. What about Goodfellas? Got that?
You are the New York gangster movie douchebag. Well, forget about it. Yeah, forget about it.
You're a really funny guy.
Funny? What? Wait, funny? Funny like I amuse you? What the fuck is so funny about me? Tell me!
He did use tampons to fill the bullet holes. Doug Wall. His Christopher Walken impression is the worst anyone has ever heard. Garrick Lane. This hump will live long enough to spend the money. Lee Bridges. This is Tales from the Video Store. All right, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
We already did the entrance, right?
Yes.
What are we doing?
We're starting the show, Garrick.
Okay. God damn, I'm out of energy. That's it. I'm done. Well, how we doing, folks?
What's up?
Have a good week?
Yeah, very good week. How about you?
Oh, very good, I think. I worked a lot. So, but in between, I got to write my notes. I got to watch some stuff, and I got to research some stuff. So, hey, I'm ready for another podcast.
Let's do it.
All right, who wants to start us off this week? You got something good that I can put in my notebook to never watch?
You want to go first, Doug?
Sure. I watched a couple of Netflix movies. One is a brand new one I had not heard of. I hadn't even seen anything about it. I don't watch a ton of Netflix, and maybe that's why. Called Triple Frontier.
That's with Affleck coming
stars
back.
Ben Affleck, Charlie Hunnam, Pedro Pascal, Oliver Isaac. Directed by J.C. Kander, who did A Most Violent Year. He did done a couple other things. That's the only one I wrote down. Triple Frontier is this part in southern Brazil where Paraguay, Argentina, and Brazil meet, and it's like some of the nastiest jungles in South America. And there's not a whole lot of people that live there. But one of these, it's like an ex-military, works down there, kind of helping the police force out. And he finds, helping them find drugs, and they find that this really big-time local drug dealer has a house deep in this section, and they believe he keeps a shitload of money there. So this guy goes with a cop and kind of has like his camera phone out, walking around this house, and he sees massive stacks of money, and gets back to town and contacts four of his like ex-military buddies. They were in like an elite unit maybe some years back. They don't really specify exactly where they were, what they did. And he wants them to come in on him on like a heist to try and go into this place and rob it. So they all agree, they go down, and that's kind of the setup of the story. It's an interesting concept. These guys, I think they said at one point they had done like 17 years of service, but none of them have anything to show for it. One guy can't send his daughter to college, another guy's like giving speeches, like they're not surviving, and one of the guys has been shot like 5 times, and he's got zero to show for it. So it's an interesting dynamic between these real life heroes trying to become what they've always been against, which is ruthless and unscrupulous, if you will. Cool movie. It's not. It's got some lulls in it, honestly, but all in all, great cast, interesting story. It's a watch. It's on Netflix. If you've not seen it, check it out. I think you'll like it.
How's Ben Affleck?
He's great. Everybody's great.
Post rehab.
He looks like Ben Affleck.
It does the same.
Yeah, he's fine. He's absolutely fine. Then the other movie I watched, I was sitting up, I think it was last weekend, man. It was like midnight, and I was just wanting to watch something different. So I was flipping around and I found Ninja Assassin from 2009. It is a James McTeague movie starring Rain, who is like a
Korean pop star.
Yeah, Korean pop star that you wouldn't know it just by watching the movie.
Right.
And basically, it's about this orphanage that's high up in the mountains that collects these. Some of the kids they steal, some of them they just kind of get them. Maybe they buy them. I'm not really sure. But they train them. This guy trains them to become assassin, like ninja assassins, and then sells them off to different governments around the world. And it's the story of one of these kids who kind of gets to a point where he's asked to do something, he decides he doesn't want to do it, and then he's out, and nobody has seen from him or heard of him, but there's been these kind of stories, and this investigative reporter is like trying to find him. Kick-ass action, it's bloody as all get out. It's not a traditional kung fu movie. It's not a samurai movie. It's a movie about ninjas.
Yeah.
But I liked it. It's some parts of it are kind of silly. Some of it's a little bit over the top. But all in all,
right,
cool movie. It's a solid rent. Either way, for sure. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
All right. 2 movies. That's it.
That's
all
it.
I had time to.
That's all I got too as well.
Yeah.
Well, I got one more, but we'll probably talk about that one later.
Okay.
The first one I watched was a Korean crime film called The Divine Move. And it was based around the board game Go, where you have the grid and the white and black pebbles. And it's hugely popular throughout Asia. And guy starts at the movie, he's a professional Go player. And his brother wants him to basically talk into a, microphone while his brother plays this gangster in Go. And basically he's going to tell his brother over the radio how to beat this guy.
Right.
Of course, it goes terribly wrong. His brother ended up getting killed. They frame his brother. They frame the main character for his brother's murder. He ends up going to jail for a long time. But because he's this mathematic genius and this professional Go player, like the crime boss who's in the prison, he gets him to basically to help him improve his Go game. He helps the guards, because it's like people gamble on it there.
Right.
It's like they have parlors where people either play mahjong or they play Go. It's like they have poker parlors here. And he gets out of prison, and he's learned a lot of things. He's learned a lot about crime. He's learned how to fight. But that's basically the thing when he helped the mob boss. He made a promise. He said, I'll help you if you teach me how to fight. And so he gets out of prison and starts this insanely detailed plot to get revenge on these guys. He gets an old blind guy who was a Go master before he was blinded. He gets a guy who runs a scrapyard who has a pickaxe for a hand. It's kind of and it's weird because you know how Asian movies have the tone shifts. Because there'll be 10 minutes where it's like a Steven Soderbergh Ocean's 11 movie. It's all slick and funny and stuff. Then just the most horrific shit imaginable will happen. Somehow get their tongue sliced out, and then it just becomes like a NC-17 movie. But then 5 minutes later, there's some romantic scene. So I mean, if you can handle that, which a lot of people don't like that,
right?
But it's a very cool looking movie. And like I said, it's probably the only gangster movie ever based around the game Go that will ever be.
Divine Mood?
The Divine Move. It's a move basically a move in Go where basically it's like an automatic checkmate in chess. Right. You can, once you see where the pieces start to be set out, you can see how you're going to win almost automatically. And it's something like, like a professional player might get it. It's like a royal flush. You might get one in a lifetime, And the other thing I watched was actually a movie suggested by one of our members on our Facebook group, Casey Willock. He asked if anybody had seen Altered States with William Hurt from the early 80s. I had not seen it probably since I was 10 years old. So I'll say 89, 90. Which for some reason it was on TV all the time when I was a kid. Like I would see it like at my grandmother's house. And the premise of the movie is he's a psychiatrist who's trying to understand schizophrenia and things like that. And he uses a deprivation tank and huge amounts of hallucinogenics. And then he finds out about this tribe in Mexico who has this special type of magic mushroom that they make this serum out of, and it gives you these intense hallucinations where you can even go back to race memories to basically your ancestors. So he brings it back to America, synthesizes it, and starts using it in this deprivation tank, and then begins to change. It leads up to him turning into it, basically morphing into a caveman. I guess morphing into his earliest ancestor. And I guess you say it's like a very intellectual horror film. You know, which they weren't, like, they made a lot of in, like, the 80s, you know. Like,
but not all of them were good.
Yeah, not all of them were good. And this movie, like, there's a lot of people, this movie's not going to be their cup of tea.
Right.
It's a lot of talking, a lot of psychobabble, and just a lot of scientific theory, you know. But it's a really cool movie, and the makeup effects still look awesome. Like, when he turns into the caveman, he looks amazing.
What's the gore factor?
Not really that much.
Yeah.
Like, he beat when he turns into the caveman, he beats a couple security guards to death with like a nightstick. But really, I mean, it's more just the weirdness of it. You know, like at the beginning, he talks about how he was very religious when he was a kid, and when his dad died, when he was at 16, just stopped. And the first hallucination he has is his dad dying, and he like hands his dad a Bible, and then like a giant like cross of flame comes out of his dad's chest. You know, so it sort of deals like from him now to going backwards. And like I said, very weird movie, but I enjoyed it. You know, I rented it at the Big Time Video Outlet.
Nice.
And
I've seen that movie.
like I said, it was really popular in the 80s.
Long time ago.
But it's kind of a movie that's kind of fallen by the wayside. You know, after like American Werewolf and other movies came out that had transformation sequences, it kind of got forgotten. You know, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
The Altered States.
Yep.
Well, I don't have near as cool picks. I actually watched Menace to Society.
Oh.
Yes, I had it on DVD and I hadn't seen it. And something else kind of spawned my, just the whole 90s. I just remember what we were doing in the 90s, and we wanted to be gangsters. And we were coming along in this age. Kurt Cobain had died. And now we were like, I don't even remember. There was Tupac and Biggie and all that stuff. And we were cool. We watched that movie. I must have watched that movie a gazillion times.
Dude, we watched it.
O-Dog, we just thought O-Dog was the coolest thing. Even though we were little white guys who grew up in middle-class neighborhoods and would never do the things that were happening in that movie. But I look at this movie, so I wanted to actually watch it to see if it still had legs. Because I remember, it's kind of like Dazed and Confused. It resonated. Don't know why. Maybe just because we were teenagers and it was the rebel factor, hip-hop, gangster rap, NWA, all that stuff had just come out. Death Row just come out. And so I wanted to see if it still had legs. It does. I look at it a little different. Some of the acting was, whatever. But what those guys did with the amount of money that they had and the effect that they did with that film is fantastic.
I've not seen that in years, like years and years.
I mean, it really is good. The weakest link is Tyrone Turner, who was the lead. Kane.
Yeah.
I felt like he was probably the...
Well, that's why we never really heard from him again.
Right. But it was still and it's funny because, DJ Quick was in that film, and that was after he got cleared of killing Biggie Smalls, or, he was implicated as one of the guys that did it. So, and Jada Pinkett before. Yeah. Jada Pinkett was Jada Pinkett. She was beautiful, just the whole Samuel L. Jackson as his dad there at the beginning. It has legs. It's a different kind of legs than it did when I was a kid. I think if I wasn't a filmmaker, I'd probably look at that and go, I probably don't have to watch that again. But the fact that what they did in the amount of time, they shot all that in like a neighborhood pretty much. And
right.
All low budget. It was fantastic. And I don't think they tried to recreate it with Dead Presidents a couple years later. Mm-hmm. Wasn't quite as successful.
Which I enjoyed that movie, though.
I do, too.
Yeah.
It's
a much slicker movie than,
Oh, well, they had more money. Yeah. And then they did From Hell,
right.
which I actually didn't mind at all.
No, I don't mind that movie.
So
cool. The only thing about that movie is Johnny Depp's psychic powers are meaningless.
Right.
Like, everything he discovers through detective work. And the psychic powers are just fucking...
useless.
They're useless. It's like, cut that out. That's 5 minutes out of your movie. Yeah. And then, anyway, go ahead.
Well, that was it, and I watched a documentary, Biggie and Tupac, done by Nick Broomfield, who was successful after he did the Kurt and Courtney documentary.
Right.
And the movie's not that good, but it is interesting. You know, but you could tell that this documentary wasn't going where he had planned it to go because, you know, the first interview he ends up on camera holding his mic, and all these people that he's trying to talk to won't talk to him. And like Russell Poole, who was the lead detective, says, I can't talk to you because of the lawyer, and he got 5 minutes with Suge Knight. Like, it's funny, like, and so, you know, I read a couple of books, and I remember all that mess, and I watched all those movies, which, of course, none of them were very good, and this one, again, wasn't very good, but the one redeeming factor about this movie is that everybody talked to sent him into a circle.
Right.
Which really does give you the idea that something way bigger than anybody had imagined happened with Tupac and Biggie.
Well, that guy, the detective, he's gone bankrupt several times trying to prove.
Oh yeah, that's
like his obsession.
Well, and they say, you know, I look at it. The theory on this whole thing is whatever the crooked cops that worked for Death Row. I think the Los Angeles Police Department, after the OJ stuff, was really trying not to open up any kind of can of worms, and did whatever they could to sweep all that under the rug, because after the O.J. Simpson thing, they weren't going to have it. Right. They didn't want anything else to do with it.
Well, dude, I mean, in Cherryville, North Carolina, a town not that far from here, the FBI showed up like 5-6 years ago and arrested the entire sheriff's department. So, I mean, those things do happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, they were, like, this tiny little small town which people drive past on the interstate. They were escorting drug couriers through North Carolina in their police cars. Like, driving, make sure they didn't get pulled over. So, I mean, you can say, oh, that's a conspiracy, whatever stuff, but those things do happen.
I don't doubt it. I mean, I'm listening to this book by Randall Sullivan. It's my audiobook on my way to and from work this last couple of weeks, called L.A. or it's Labyrinth. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how many crooked people are involved. We're involved in the Los Angeles Police Department during that time. Like, it's insane because they'll go through everybody's thing, and they're going through, you know, everybody in the early September September of 1996. He was this one. I mean, one cop had 3 wives or had 2 wives. Got married. I mean, had 2 totally different lives. That Suge Knight had all this money. Him and David Kenner just throwing all this money around. And David Kenner, Suge Knight would, Death Row would pay for something, or they would get somebody's services and then not pay them. And so then when somebody comes and shows up and says, "Hey man, you going to pay me?" They would just beat him. Yeah. They would just beat him and say, "Yeah, you're not going to get paid." Yeah. And it was just and it just went like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But anyway, back to the Biggie and Tupac. It will go down in history, just like Tupac Resurrection and Beef 2003 and Notorious and All Eyes on Me as another crappy movie about a very important part of my life.
Yeah.
And I hate that. In fact, there's a movie with Forrest Whitaker and Johnny Depp called City of Lies that is shelved.
Yeah, I think
it's
it was
a movie
like a year
about
and a half ago.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like it was the Russell. What's the police officer?
Russell
name?
Poole.
Yeah, that's who Johnny Depp plays. And basically, it's maybe 2 years ago it's been made, and it's just sitting on some shelf somewhere in some film, some studio.
Well, I wonder if that with all the Amber Heard stuff happening, and then USA did the Unsolved.
Right.
Which I'm going to start this week. I will report back next week for our deep cover episode about this long. Yeah, I think it's like 8 episodes. It actually feels like The People vs. O.J. Simpson. I watched a couple trailers and I actually have watched the first one, and that's what it feels like. It's like this whole time capsule of Los Angeles during that time. But, I'll report back, but as of this moment, you still have not. No. You don't have any answers on that, nor do you have anything that's remotely good.
Right.
The Notorious film sucks. The Tupac film sucks.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
And the weird thing is, like, Suge Knight's going to die in jail. Like, he's not getting out. Plus he has like severe diabetes. And he's so basically the one guy who knows what happened. Eventually, in like 10 years, he'll be dead.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
and I'm 100% sure that it was him.
Yeah.
I'm 100% sure. Dre left. He came to Dre's house and said, "You can't leave me." And Suge Knight said, "You can't leave me." And Dre was smart. He said, "You know what? You can have everything.
Right.
I'm giving you the Chronic, only the biggest, most important hip hop film album ever."
Yeah.
He's like, "You know what? You can keep the royalties. I just want out." So of course Suge's like, "All right, cool." Well, Tupac, he knew Tupac was leaving, so he ordered the hit.
Right.
And then for marketing, all his legal troubles happened after Tupac. His plan was to off Biggie Smalls and profit off of this. A lot of people say, "Oh, Puffy had something to do with it." I 100% believe that Puffy was as yellow as he could get. He was a freaking dancer, dude.
Yeah.
He didn't want anything to do with it. And he had said it on many interviews and anything. He's like, "I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want this fight. This is stupid. I don't want to do this. I don't want to live my life." The only thing that would be suspect is apparently in one of the investigations, Puffy said to one of his guys, one of his Crip buddies, that he didn't want to live this way.
Yeah.
Something had to be done.
Yeah.
And if it meant Biggie and everybody dying, he wasn't going to live the rest of his life like this. And I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Like, who would want to do that?
When I was in high school, when all those secret records and all those posthumous Tupac records kept coming up, people were like, "He's still alive," and I was like 17, going, "No, he was trying to get out of his contract, so he was making as many albums as possible."
Yeah.
He was in business with a stone cold criminal.
Yeah,
and he was like, "I got to get the fuck out of here."
Oh, that's what they said. They said that Dre did it the opposite way and just decided he didn't want to do it anymore and got out. Tupac was trying to be nice and try to get out of it and say, "Hey, I'm going to leave him with something. I'm going to do it the political way."
Right. He was going to fulfill his contract, all the
That's
records.
Right. I know. Yeah. Well, and it didn't work. And some of the stuff that this guy did, like I can't even imagine how much money was pissed away. $60 million. The first Tupac album that Suge Knight produced made $60 million. And Tupac got $1 million of it.
Yeah.
And everything else bought. Sure, he didn't ever have to have money. And now I'm like, where did all that money go?
Yeah.
He was spending money on piranhas. Like, this guy was... Yeah. I mean, he deserves to live the rest of his life in jail.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not just that businesses do that. Like, this has nothing to do with rap music, but like 10 years ago when David Prowse, the guy who was in the Darth Vader suit, got cancer, he was like, "I've never gotten a royalty check from Jedi." And they're like, "Oh, you have to go into profit." And he was like, "I'm sorry?" He was like, "Yeah, it's not." He's like, "Never gone into profit." And he was like, basically, they just, and they banned him from any official thing. He's still banned. He cannot go to like parades or nothing, and because he got freaking cancer, and they wouldn't give him the money that was his money because on paper the movie never made a dime. So yeah, I mean that's not just like a gangster rap thing. That's a business thing.
It is.
It really is. Yeah,
it's terrible.
It really is. Yeah.
It's terrible. And it stinks because when it's all said and done, if Suge Knight had something to do with that.
Yeah.
Now he's sitting in jail. He didn't profit off of it. And two of the greatest hip-hop artists are dead because of it.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm off subject here, but I will say I will tell you one cool little thing. I posted it on the Facebook page. I was in Vegas the night Tupac died. Okay? That's a big deal. Whatever. I lived in Los Angeles at the time. I was there in Las Vegas when he died. And fast forward to March 9th, I was living in Venice Beach, and I had a girlfriend lived up in Hollywood. So you had to go down the 10 and go up Wilshire, go up one of those streets to get up to Hollywood. I passed through the traffic where Biggie had died, where he'd been shot on the corner. The car was right there. I actually passed through that.
Wow.
So that is kind of
right.
It's kind of creepy, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I've always thought, like Michael Hart Duncan was Biggie's bodyguard that night, and Puffy switched car. He's like, "No, ride my car."
Oh yeah.
So he had he been in that car, been in Biggie's car, he's dead.
Well, they said that, but they said reading this book, they said that the hit was very methodical. There was somebody in the back seat.
Right.
Nobody got hit. Those guys pulled up close enough that they were going to get hit.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yes. So, no, nobody else even got touched.
Yeah.
But that's kind of creepy. I was in Vegas. I didn't see I didn't see any of the wreckage, but I actually did pass through the muckety muck going to this girl's house.
Yeah, but you just think it's traffic or something.
Yeah, we did. I didn't know until the next morning when my roommate called and said, "Dude, Biggie got killed," and I'm like, "Where?" Wilshire and Fairfax. I'm like, "Dude, I was right there next to the museum. Like it was right there. Oh my gosh, that was Biggie Smalls."
Yeah.
Pretty creepy stuff, man. Pretty creepy stuff. But that's it. I will report next week. I would love to see The City of Lies.
Yeah.
I'd
love eventually get like jumped on Netflix or something.
Yeah, something.
You know.
Maybe they'll find the killer and then it'll make a whole bunch of money. But
never know.
That's all I got movie-wise this week. So I'd like to see, hey, speaking of, do you still have Ghost Dog?
I do.
You have Ghost Dog?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'd love to see that one again. You can't get the blue dog. You can't get the Blu-ray's $50.
Yeah, I have the DVD. I don't have the Blu-ray.
You know what I'm talking about with Forrest Whitaker with the RZA?
Yeah.
I don't own it.
I thought you did own it.
Well, I might.
Maybe you had the album or something.
I don't know.
Yeah. I want to see that one. Anyway, well, there you go. So, getting into the movie tonight, our 90s Gangster, our first 90s Gangster entry. It goes a lot along with Biggie Smalls, who he claimed himself the Black Frank White.
He checked into hotels as Frank White.
There you go.
Yeah, this was his favorite movie, and it was one of the first movies to have an all-rap soundtrack. Like Schoolie D, who a lot of people consider the father of gangster rap.
Oh yeah,
did all the original songs, and it was. I mean, there were other movies before that. It was like Rappin' and Crush Groove that had, those were movies about hip hop. This was the first just movie that had, even before like we were talking about Menace Society or Boys in the Hood, which came out like a year later. This beat them out by a year, and it was directed by Abel Ferrara in 1990. It's called King of New York. It was written by his, at that time, creative partner, Nicholas St. John. Stars Christopher Walken, Lawrence Fishburne, David Caruso, Wesley Snipes. And according to Nicholas St. John, it's the story of Robin Hood. Like, that's how he sees it. Of course, he's a very... apparently, Nicholas St. John goes to Mass every day. Like, he's a devout Catholic who just writes very violent movies. So the guy who wrote Driller Killer is probably at church right now. Which that's just weird. But it's just like, frankly, he's this sort of, how him and Abel Ferrara, they view as Robin Hood, he's this sort of like modern day Al Capone. He gets out of prison, and I think he's been in 8 years, and the day he gets out, they eliminate his competition. Basically, his gang's been doing nothing for 8 years, but they've had a plan. And he wants to basically run New York City for a year so he can raise money to build this hospital for this poor neighborhood. And it's a super cool movie. It's probably Abel Ferrara's coolest looking movie. A lot of his movies are sort of grimy looking, like Bad Lieutenant and stuff. They just look like there's dirt on the lens, in a good way. This movie is very slick looking. They said the movie that inspired it was the original Terminator. Because when they watch that movie, they're like, oh, it's really gritty and action-packed, but it looks amazing. So that's what they were trying to emulate. And just a really cool movie. It's my favorite Abel Ferrara movie, I would say. It's probably, I don't know if it's his best movie. I guess some people probably say Bad Lieutenant. But this is my movie.
Bad Lieutenant was pretty good.
It's good. Yeah. But this is a different type of movie.
It really is a different type of movie. Yeah. And it really is. I think it is his masterpiece.
Yeah.
And I think
he says it's his movie. This is a movie based totally on gangster cinema. It has nothing to do with reality. But what did you guys think?
Oh, don't even get me started.
Doug?
Go ahead, Doug.
I love it.
Right.
You
know I love money.
I think we all owned it at one point in time. I know that I did own it.
Yeah.
And it was, of course, it's a film that's so good that you buy it 3 or 4 times because it's like Pulp Fiction. Your friends borrow it and they never bring it back. King of New York
with this movie.
King of New York is a DVD that if you lend out, does not come back.
My buddy James, who hates movies, he doesn't watch movies. He saw this movie. He's like, oh, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I want to watch it again. So I lent it to him. I have yet to see that.
Never seen it again.
The King of New York and Alice in Chains Sap have been bought at least 4 times since they were released in the Lane house. That's okay. That's just a footnote. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So, like we were saying, this Robin Hood story, it's, to me, it's ridiculous to think that somebody who's as callous and cold as Frank White is at the heart of this trying to do something good. And they try and make it out like he is. But at the end of the day, he wants to make his pockets fat and contribute.
Right.
But I think the contribution, he feels like, if I get this hospital made, I'll be able to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
More so than it's like I'm doing it for the kids. And I think that's part of the reason why his character is so revered. And talking about like I guess the past of his character, they don't really go into it. And it kind of adds to his mystique. He's an intimidating presence, but he just looks like an average white guy. Like he's just all smooth. And when they go to these different gangs that are around, like the Triad gang and the Italian gang, like they look like when they go to the Italian gang house and they're all sitting around playing cards, it looks like a mess of Italian gangsters.
Right.
You know what I mean? And same when they go to the Triad. But he's just so non-traditional looking and acting that's why that character is just fucking great. Like I love that character. I completely understand why people love fantasize or romanticize this character. It's awesome.
I'm going to disagree with you slightly about one thing you said. You're talking about how the Robin Hood thing not being very realistic. If you go to Colombia, people who are alive when Pablo Escobar was alive, he would give so much money away and just help out so many people. There are people there. There are people in South Boston right now, older Irish people. If you ask them about Whitey Bulger, they'll tell you he was a great guy, did a lot for the community. But so I think like people are so.
Oh, I'm just saying. I think his ultimate.
Oh no, just to make money.
Reasoning behind it was not necessarily to be good.
No, it's not to be good, but it's to. Just because you're not trying to be, doesn't mean you can't do something good. True. Like I've known people who were terrible human beings, like we talked about in the serial killer, like Ted Bundy saving that drowned baby.
Yeah,
that was an amazing thing to do. That's better than anything I've ever done. Right?
Yeah, I gotcha.
So people are fucking complicated.
Yeah.
So I understand what you mean. Yeah, the stealing the cocaine from the Triads, that was the top of the pyramid.
Yeah, there was a reason.
There wasn't going to be like, we'll just we'll go sell cookies. Like that was not an option.
Yeah.
But it's, but like people that's the reason we watch these movies. We, as Americans, we love gangsters.
Yeah, and talking about New Jack City,
right?
Kind of the same. Yeah. Nino Brown was made kind of in Frank White's image,
right?
Giving out the turkeys and trying to be this upstanding person when he's.
Well, even Suge Knight was the exact same way. Suge Knight was spending money on battered women, single women. Yeah. Banquets and giving money to children and not giving it killing and people that he owed money to, he would just beat up.
Right.
So
it's like Larry Fishburne's character when they're in the restaurant and the kids are playing the video games but they don't have any quarters.
Yeah.
And he goes over and just hands them a handful of quarters and pays for their food. Like sometimes, like I said, bad people do really nice things.
Yeah.
This movie's so cool. It's almost too cool.
It is too cool.
It really, like when at the end of the movie, when the cops try to kill him, he pulls up at a cop's funeral and shoots another cop in the face with a double-barrel shotgun while there's like 500 cops around,
and completely gets away.
And just drives away. Like it's like I said, the whole movie it's just an exercise in coolness.
Yeah. And it is a masterpiece.
It really is.
It's cinema-wise.
Yeah.
It's
favorite scene when he gets out of prison. Does a little dance with his crew. That's just fucking.
That's one of my favorite lines is when he asks the first time he talks to Lawrence Fishburne. How come you didn't come see me? And he's like, who wants to see you in a cage? Like he didn't want to see him like that.
Yeah.
And like 10 years ago, Abraham was going to make a prequel, with Michael Pitt as Frank White and Nellie, I believe, as Jump, and it was going to end with him going to prison. But I think for whatever reason he couldn't get the money or whatever,
Which is amazing to me that nobody would give him money to do Kings of
in Human's defense, I did see him interviewed a couple years ago where he got remarried and he had a kid, and the kid's he's 65 years old, the kid's 2. And he's like, before I met my new wife, I hadn't been sober in 40 years. He said, I did cocaine every day. He said, I'd wake up in the morning, have my little mirror, He said 40 years. I was like, God, 40 years never being straight. Just so, I mean, I can understand people, because he is a very abrasive guy. Like on the commentary for the DVD, they had to give him $5,000 for him to do it. Like, he ain't doing nothing for free.
So he was able to do a massive amount of cocaine and do Kings of New York, which is a masterpiece. And Stephen King was doing massive amounts of cocaine and made Maximum Overdrive.
Right. Which are two movies that are just soaked in excess. So maybe that's the key. Maybe you just want to make an over-the-top movie, you just got to do a bunch of blow.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. The best line, though, in the movie is at the beginning, because the tension in that first scene is great. And then when the Italian opens up, the Colombian opens up the suitcase and he grabs all the tampons and he's like, oh, what is this? And Lawrence Fishburne's like, for the bullet holes, motherfucker. Bah, bah, bah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Like, that just sets the tone for the movie.
How weird is Steve Buscemi in that one scene, though? Why is he in the movie?
Yeah.
Like, he's only in that scene.
His test tube.
Yeah, exactly. He's a drug chemist.
Yeah.
Because he's Abel Ferrara's buddy, and they were doing massive amounts of cocaine.
Right.
And he was there doing cocaine, and
Robbery.
Abel was like, "Hey, dude, go put on with this. Things go over there."
Yeah. Another cool thing I read is Fishburne was cast as the Wesley Snipes part, but when the guy who was originally supposed to play Jumpin' Italian American guy fell out of the movie, he's like, let me audition for that. And before I was like, no, you're already cast. I'm not doing it. He's like, just give me 5 minutes. He's like, okay, be here 8 o'clock in the morning. That suit he wears with the playing cards and the hat, he went and bought that and went to the prop guy and got 2 guns and apparently came in character and just nailed it.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, and just like, he was like, you're in the movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's great.
So yeah, which is what allowed Wesley Snipes to be in the movie, because David Caruso was like, you got to put my buddy in this movie. And so that's how Snipes got in the movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but apparently when this movie premiered at the New York Film Festival, they had a Q&A afterwards, and somebody asked Abel Ferrara why he would make it such an abomination, because apparently the original cut was 2 hours, and so the 40 minutes they cut out, or the 30 minutes they cut out of it, was just all violence, And I don't know, I've never even heard of anybody having that cut, and somebody asked Abel Ferrara if he was going to give his profits of the movie to a drug rehab center because this movie glorifies the drug business so much. And I think we can all pretty much guess what his response would be. And then Larry Fishburne tried to come up and sort of save the Q&A by talking. At that point, they just started booing and throwing things at them, so they just left. So this movie is a true cult movie because it was hated by critics when it came out. It was just considered violence for violence sake. Yeah. Nothing redeeming about it. And
it's that gangster rap.
Exactly. And like I said, cut down from 2 hours to 106 minutes to avoid an X rating. And but I'll tell you one of my favorite scenes, probably my favorite scene in the movie, is when he handcuffs Bishop to the chair, the head detective at the end. And he goes through all the guys he killed. Like Artie Clay, the Italian gangster, had $40 million in his bank. How's that happen? The Chinese gangster, renting, 5 feet of floor space for $800 a month in Chinatown to immigrants. He's like, King Tito, the Colombian, he's like pimping out 13-year-old girls. He's like, I don't do business like that. He's like, and everybody I ever killed had it coming, And I don't know, I love Walken. This is kind of Walken's last movie as a movie star. Because after a few years after this, he was like the kooky character actor. I mean, he was in those horror movies, the Prophecy movies throughout the 90s. Right. But he really wasn't starring in that many movies.
No.
Because, this is sort of the peak of him as a movie star. And
the Prophecy movies were actually pretty good.
The first one's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
the second one was done just for money.
Right, exactly, yeah. But yeah, this is Walken's coolest movie, Abel Ferrara's coolest movie. If you haven't seen it, this might not be a rent, this might be a buy. There's a Blu-ray out.
Yeah.
It can't be more than
just don't give it to your buddy.
Don't lend it out.
Let your buddy come and watch it at your house.
Yeah.
But don't give it to him because you will never get it back.
Exactly. He'll walk in the next time you see him wearing a gold chain and a black leather jacket.
With his hands dancing like this. And you'll go to his house and it'll all be blue. It'll be like blue light.
There's so much.
And there'll be a bunch of black ladies dancing around like everybody's on ecstasy.
There's so much blue light in this movie. It's ridiculous.
It really is a lot of blue light.
Yeah.
And
Teresa Russell?
Thank you.
Teresa
Randall.
Teresa Randall from Girl 6.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beautiful. She's in the
Yes.
movie too. She's worth it.
I was a
She's
big
worth
fan of hers in high school.
Yes. I was a big fan too.
Yeah.
So there you go. Not a rent it or skip it, but a buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a buy
If you like gangster movies, you've never seen it, there's no way you won't like it. I mean, I can't imagine. Now, I can see people who don't like gangster movies, they would probably be like the people at the New York Film Festival. They'd be like, what is this?
Right.
Yeah, like my wife would probably get 5 minutes into that movie and just be like, this is miserable. I hate this.
Yeah. Oh, I've had those reactions.
I want
Let's watch Made in Manhattan.
how to get a man in 10. What was that film? Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson.
How to cash a giant check in 10 days on Matthew McConaughey. I was reading this because Michael Caine's birthday was the other day. So I was reading this interview. They're like, have you ever seen Jaws 4? He's like, no, but I live in the house it paid for, and it's amazing. I was like, God, bro. I was like, that's the most English answer to a question ever. Like, who cares?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I haven't checked on any news. Does anybody have any good news this week?
I have some movie news.
Oh, yeah?
I have one movie I'm excited about.
They're going to give me money to make my film.
They are not. They're actually going to take money out of your bank account.
To keep you from
To keep you from. There's people who are involved in the conspiracy with Biggie and Tupac. They also don't want you to make a movie.
Great. That's
Anyway.
So you're saying there's a chance.
That was pretty good. Okay. I'll start with the negative first. This is going to sound like a positive, and I'm going to tell you why I'm concerned about it. With the success, as we talked about last week, of Captain Marvel, Marvel Studios / Disney has greenlit their first Asian superhero movie. They're going to do what the comic books called when I was a kid, Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. And the guy who directed one of Brie Larson's first movie, Full Term 12, or whatever, I can't remember. He's an Asian American director, and it's going to be be a huge movie. And I'm all for. I think that's awesome because really
However,
the fight scenes in Marvel movies are fucking diarrhea. I like Black Panther a lot, but there's a scene where the two main characters are fighting, and they're both in head-to-toe costumes, so you can't see the actors, and both of them are completely CGI.
yeah.
That's why
You talking about the water?
That's why they have stunt people.
Yeah.
That's literally why they exist. And like the only Marvel movie that has good fight scenes is Captain America: Winter Soldier. Because the movie opens with Captain America fighting George St. Pierre.
That's right.
And it's awesome. And you can tell the Russos, they just wanted to make a real action movie. Because it doesn't get like real CGI till the end.
Right.
But most of the fight scenes in Marvel movies are just atrocious. The Captain America: Winter Soldier and the Daredevil TV show are the only two things that have cool action that they've done. The rest of it is just.
But what if they do take it back? Like, what if they look at the Chinese market and say, those guys,
Right.
they're not going to be fooled by CGI. We're going to have to really do this, and we're going to have to.
I would
do
hope
it
so,
very well.
but like I think I mentioned a few months ago, the young lady who went in for a meeting for the Black Widow movie,
Right.
and they basically told her not to worry about the action. She was just going to do the dialogue scenes. I don't know if they're going to let this young man have anything to do with that. That's my main issue,
Right.
and I really hope they do. Because I would like just to see, I've always liked the character. If you can find the ones that are written by Paul Glancy from the 90s, it's just called Master of Kung Fu. They're awesome. They're released by the Marvel Max line, which is a sort of R-rated. The only thing I am concerned about is when his character was originally released in the 70s, Marvel had the rights to Fu Manchu. So in the original comic book, he's the son of Fu Manchu. And I don't know if you know what racism is, but people consider that character a little bit racist.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, now I don't know how they're going to deal with that. Because it's like, the characters, it's like Chinese stereotype, the famous character.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. Maybe they'll just make him like a triad boss or something, I assume. But, and the next thing I was wanting to talk about is, give me 1 second.
I got something. While you're looking up your whatever.
Okay.
I got a couple of things I saw, maybe talk worthy, maybe not. I saw James Gunn is back on as Guardians of the Galaxy director. I think that's
That's
the right
great.
move.
Yeah, you can't. You don't want to change that.
Everybody wanted to punish people for something that they did, 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever. I understand more serious things, but this was a guy that had just finished working for Troma, and he just came out and wanted to say some weird shit.
They were off-color tweets, jokes.
Right. He was trying to be funny, and people just didn't take it as such. So I'm glad he got his job back. And what do you guys know about these 40X movie theaters? Know anything about them?
No.
So in Charlotte, they've opened one of these. I think there's 14 of them in the U.S.
You talk about the air, where you get in the air and the chairs are moving?
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, you sit down in these chairs.
Right.
And it has a switch that says water on, water off.
Right.
What
the answer is water off.
Yeah, completely. And basically what it's supposed to do through these special effects, they're motion synchronized seats. So if they're driving in a car, it's shaking.
It's like the 3Ds at the science places.
Science
fairs.
Wind, fog, rain, lightning. They'll do flashes of lightning, snow, bubbles, vibration, and they even do scents.
Right.
It's almost $25 a ticket for an adult, and over $20 for a kid. So a family of 4, it's going to cost you
$100.
Yeah, with food, drinks and whatever, $100. It's like an amusement park ride.
Right.
Yes.
So let me answer this. No, thank you.
Yeah.
It's
my note. No thanks.
My buddy Ryan, when I was working out in California, we were going to go see Predator. Well, we went to see Predator, and we had the choice of this 40X or just 3D. And
that's a cow across the street.
Yeah, turn your vibrator off. No, turn your 40X seat off. Anyway, we really did think about doing it, and Ryan was like, "Oh man, it's really cool." He's like, "It's really expensive, and it kind of takes away." And I was like, I see that. It's experience, and it kind of takes away from the film because all this stuff's going on.
Zero desire.
Now, if it's Backdraft or something like that, maybe. But if it's a movie I'm paying attention to, no.
You're right, and you're talking about $25 as opposed to $13.50.
Right.
Well, for an industry that's having problems getting people in the seats, I think this is the wrong approach.
Right.
It's definitely the wrong approach. Why don't you cut down the tickets?
Leave this for the theme parks.
Or maybe every movie doesn't need to be 3 hours long.
Yeah, that would help.
That would help too. There you can have more showings and more movies. So,
that's it.
I just know this place just opened in Charlotte.
I don't need
Moneyball movie theaters.
Right.
That's what we'll do. Cheaper movies, cheaper, less long movies, more showtimes, more money.
How long was Captain Marvel?
Oh, it's 2 hours. 2 hours exactly. Okay. So it was good. It was all
That's
right.
okay, but I mean,
that's 2 hours is it.
Kind of miss 90-minute movies.
Hey,
just don't do them anymore.
Speaking of my movie, movies, when you turn them in, spec scripts, you turn them in, they cannot be any longer than 120 pages because one page technically is a minute of screen time, which equals to 2 hours. And if you have 127 minutes, nobody will look at it. So do like Lee. All of Lee's scripts are 88 pages. 87 pages. Stick to that plan because that plan makes that's right. We have not watched one film that has been over 197 minutes. I mean, over 97 minutes. I don't think.
I think we watched one. I think Snowflake was 150.
That was his. Okay, so we have not toppled a 2 hour and 13 minute. We did not do Phantom Thread. On the cast.
Right.
You got
never will.
Yeah.
I don't think that was actually over 2 hours. Believe it or
God,
not.
it felt like it.
It felt like 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Felt like I was getting a root canal while taking the SATs. Anyway, I finally found my second story. The link I saved didn't work.
Okay.
Park Chan-wook, the director of Old Boy, is going to do a Western written by the guy who wrote Bone Tomahawk.
Yes!
For Amazon.
Woo!
So you're not going to have to go to the theater to see it. It's called, give me 1 second, it's called The Brigands of Rattle Creek, and apparently the script is ungodly violent. that was like one of the first scripts Craig Zahler wrote, and people who would give it to like producers, they would just read it and go, absolutely not, just hand it back to him. Because you've seen the movie, we've all seen the movies he's made. Right. Imagine the scripts that got turned down. Nice. And Park Chan-wook, he's a genius. I mean, Old Boy is...
Oh, it's the best.
It's the best. Despite the fact that he made that Korean vampire movie, Thirst, which I hated more than I can imagine.
I tried to watch it.
I brought friends to the theater. I talked to people who didn't watch Korean movies. I was like, we're going to go see this movie. It's going to be the shit. And then afterward, I was like, well, there was blood whales at the end, and I apologize for making you spend that money.
Sorry, everybody.
Sorry. But this movie is going to be awesome.
Oh, I'm sure. Craig Zahler. I love you, Craig Zahler. Let me get split in two by a couple of cannibals in one of your films. I'm in, 100%.
Or just, in your spare time.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the apprehension I have about Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, I don't have any apprehensions about. The ruffians of Rattle Creek.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. I mean, that's just that's.
And opposed to they're trying to get Matthew McConaughey to.
Oh, forget it! If they can get Matthew McConaughey, forget it. That's it. Yep. Old boy, and Brawl Cell Block 99.
Oh yeah, that's what's up. That's basically
done.
They could have
and Matthew McConaughey.
They could have called it the movie made for Lee Bridges, but that wouldn't have sold as well.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but that's all the news I have.
Go.
That's it. All right. Hey, have you hadn't started True Detective, have you?
I have not.
Okay. Well, next week I will give you my firm review and assessment of the third season of True Detective.
Okay. I can't wait.
I won't give any spoilers because it's but I will get to that. We're running a little long today, or I'd get into it today. Now
we're talking about King of New York.
That's right, King of New York, and Craig Zahler,
yeah,
and Biggie and Tupac,
oh yeah,
and Menace to Society. Break yourself. Okay.
That's cool. That's enough of that.
Oh yeah, I already did that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, you got us another movie that I'll never get to. I'm still waiting. Death of Stalin is still sitting on my counter,
sitting there mocking you. I'm actually going to recommend one of Abel Ferrara's earlier movies. This is his fourth movie, and it's called Fear City. Have either one of you seen Fear City?
No.
Let me explain the plot of this movie. Tom Berenger and Jack Scalia run a talent agents for strippers in New York City. The big strip clubs, they supply all the dancers. Well, and things are going pretty good. The only real hiccup in Tom Berenger's life is, he has two. He was a boxer before he was a stripper talent agent, and he beat a guy to death in the ring, accidentally. And his star dancer is Melanie Griffith, and she has left him for one of his other dancers, who's Ray Don Chong.
Oh, I love you, Ray Don Chong.
And, it's about to get worse, because apparently there's a serial killer in New York who's a fucking ninja who is killing these strippers. So imagine Michael Dudikoff's character from American Ninja if he became Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver.
Okay.
And just wanted to kill strippers.
Gotcha.
And guess who is the police...
Ninja Ted Bundy.
Right. Guess who is the police officer who's investigating this? Fucking Billy D. Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. This movie is so fucking sleazy, but amazing. And of course, at the end, Tom Berenger...
right when you said sleazy, Doug said, let me write this down.
Tom Berenger has to, sort of... It's basically about him, his fear of violence, because he was a boxer and this guy died at the end of the match. And so basically he has to make a decision. Is he going to try and find this guy? Because he feels that he's the only one who could deal with it. These women work for him. The cops are trying to shut down all the strip clubs because of this. And he basically has to, get back into boxing shape and fight a ninja.
Sounds amazing.
If you don't like that, what the hell are you doing listening to this podcast?
Yeah.
Amen.
Go listen to An American Life on whatever.
Or the Midnight Drive-In.
There you go. Also an option. But yeah, so Fear City, 1985.
Like Suge Knight, dude. Just call him out. Hey.
First of all, that's not like Suge Knight at all.
Hey, if you want to listen to a podcast that doesn't sound like a bad YouTube video, it isn't riddled with 2 hours of crickets, dogs barking, and birds chirping, you want to listen to Tales from the Crypt.
You're an idiot. Anyway, Fear City. Tales from the Crypt. Fear City.
Fear City.
Yep.
Sounds good. What was the year on that?
1985.
85.
Yep.
Sweet.
And it was made by 20th Century Fox, much like King of New York. They saw the cut of the movie and sold it to a smaller company. They were like, no, thank you. No, thank you to ninjas killing strippers, But anyway, so that's...
There you go, Fierce City.
It doesn't sound familiar. I don't think I've seen it.
Right.
All right, well, let's just jump into my bathwater showdown tonight. However, it's not bathwater. It's a hip-hop showdown. There's a lot of talk. We were talking about Tupac and Biggie. A lot of people argue who was the better rapper. Tonight, we're going to settle it video store style on the Facebook page and in the Facebook group. You tell us, who was the better rapper, Tupac or Biggie? That'll be my easy cheesy showdown this week.
Biggie for me. Not
A Biggie for me too.
You don't care.
I don't care.
Well, it's like, how about when is Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings going to be there?
If it was Digital Underground, I would have a vote.
Wait a minute. Beat Street or Breaking?
But it was in Digital Underground. Fucking Tupac. So I'm going to say Tupac.
There you go. So there you go. You can vote for Tupac. Yeah. Well, we got some crazy announcements. Everybody on Facebook, thank you. We are almost to 1,000 likes.
Yep.
What? 1,000 likes. That's right. And we've opened up this group, and we're almost to 200 in our group. We appreciate everybody that's been blowing us up. It's crazy because I went from a Facebook page where I had never had notifications to a Facebook page where I look down now and I actually get scared. I see the icon and there's like 19 plus, and I'm like, oh gosh! But that's all from the group. That's all everybody interacting.
And like 2.5 weeks ago, we had 14 members. So it's we're right as of this recording, we're at 175. So by the time it airs, we'll probably be close to 200.
We appreciate everybody sharing your pictures of your VHS tapes. Yep. Those are epic.
People sharing movies they like, trailers they like, their film collections. It's awesome.
It is. It's very. We are getting ready to, and we'll share with you. We are actually in the process of building a Patreon page. We had one for the other name.
The show that shall not be named.
Yeah, the show that has nothing to do with us anymore. But we're getting ready to rebuild it. We'll send you a link. We really do appreciate all the support. It's been fantastic.
Yep. And if you listen on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever service you listen on, because you can actually find the show on lots of different streaming services, leave a review.
Please.
Please leave it. That really helps us out a lot.
Send Johnny Zuko. I'm gonna call you out because you're one of our oldest listeners. You listen every week. Go to that Facebook page, man, and hit us a recommendation. Go on there, write us a recommendation. We're now on Google Play, so anybody with Android phones, you can go to there. You can it'll take you 3 seconds. You can do it while you're listening to the podcast. Type it in. Type in a review. Tell us you hate us. Tell us you love us. It doesn't matter. Either way you want to do it. A review is a review, and we'll take it. And we would love that. It would help us out.
Yep.
It would help us out with more access and more content to be able to give to you guys. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we're also planning a really cool one-off for our next... when we're done with 90s gangster rap, gangster rap, that's what I got on my mind. 90s gangster movies. We're going to go to the spot, one of our sponsors. We're going to roll in. We're not going to look at we're going to just go into their video store. They have lots of Blu-rays and old films and old VHS tapes and all sorts of cool old vintage films. We're just going to walk in there and we're going to pick one.
Awesome.
And we're going to watch it right there, and we're going to do the podcast on the spot. There you go. And we'll have some video to go with that. But it's pretty cool, man. I saw old Ed Wood movies.
Yeah.
Old like monster movies, B movies, black exploitation. There's
nice.
any video in there.
I've been meaning to go there. I just haven't had a chance yet.
It's pretty cool. So anyway, that's in the works. So besides that, I don't have any more announcements. Again, thanks for all the support. Yep. Go to the group, write us recommendations, man, and subscribe.
Yep, exactly. So you can subscribe on YouTube. The show's on YouTube, so you know.
Yes, and then you can also go into the group or go on the page and post how much you want Doug to get on social media so he can come and blast you here and there.
Exactly. How many members of the group would it take for you to get on social media? Because we're at 175 right now. And be realistic. Don't say 10,000 to be a dickhead.
I don't know.
Or you could just let me open your account and be you. And
it's fun. You guys are doing great.
Yeah.
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 All right, cool.
What do you need me
Well,
for?
then, here. Well, let's just do this then.
Yeah.
Here. We're doing fine, are we? Here. Oh, look, 17 notifications. Here you
doing
go.
great.
Why don't you answer? Who was our last comment? Joseph Heddecker. Why don't you answer his questions on the group for a week? Why don't you take my phone and do some of this, yeah? You should do some of that, huh? Yeah.
Nice.
Just kidding. We're totally fine. We get it, man. It's totally fine. We are doing it. Hey, when we get up to 300 or 400 group, and we get up to 1,000 likes and things like that, we may need a hand. Hey, why don't you just get Jody back on to talk for your.
That's fine.
Okay.
That looks like an Amish guy if he was a giant douchebag. He's completely opposed to technology.
I hate it.
And it's fair enough. And it's fine.
We'll get back.
We appreciate you. We appreciate your contributions.
By the way, 2019, maybe by 2020, I'll be in. Okay?
Speaking of, he did contribute. He actually wrote this really great piece we will put on the website about the film Goodfellas to bring us into this block, and we'll have that up. Have that up a couple days after the podcast goes out. It's fantastic. Cool. So there you are. You are contributing.
There you go.
I mean, it only took him 6 months, but whatever.
Hey, we can get one person.
That's true.
So that's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with Deep Cover, and we may continue, and we'll probably continue a little bit more on Biggie and Tupac because I've watched Unsolved, and who knows what else we'll get. But we will be watching the second part of our fish sandwich.
There we go.
Nice.
The deep cover tip.
Yep.
They'd say, yeah, and you don't stop, because it's 187 on an undercover cop. Yeah, and you don't stop, because it's a 187 on an undercover cop. Yeah, and you don't stop, because it's a 187 on the undercover. Thank you to our sponsors, Golden Ticket Cinemas in Lenore. $5 movies every Tuesday, all day long. GTcinemas.com. The Spot Toys in Newton. Find them on Facebook at facebook.com/The Spot Toys.